President Biden says that he can't extend the eviction moratorium any longer, and he's now asking Congress to get involved. So joining me now to talk about this is Altagracia Pierre-Outerbridge. She's a landlord-tenant attorney in New York. She's also the founder of law firm Outerbridge Law. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. This is really difficult to hear. People could be out on the streets. Tell us what the situation is right now for them.
All right. Thank you, Laverne, for having me. So really, July 31st is the end of the CDC federal moratorium. So that really means that landlords can go ahead and start eviction proceedings. People can be locked out of their homes, thrown out of their homes, and into shelters or on the street. So it's really dire.
Do they have any alternative? I mean, is that just it? Like you're out on the streets, that there's no legal way you can fight this?
Absolutely. There are many, many ways you can fight. Eviction comes with a lot of defenses, including whether or not you were served properly, whether or not you even owe the money, right? Whether or not the apartment, right, where you live is worth the money that they're charging you. So one of the tips we have is really seeking legal services. Renters need to seek legal services. They need to seek an attorney, right? So renters should also look to see if their states has extended state moratorium, right? So New York, for example, the moratorium in New York ends on August 31st. So folks should look to see whether they are covered by an extended moratorium in their state. Also, there is rental assistance, over $40 billion worth of rental assistance that has been given by Congress, right, to the states. So folks should be applying for rental assistance, seeking legal services.
Okay, I'm going to stop you right there. That's a really good point that you said about applying for this money. Let's talk about that, because let's face it, a lot of people don't have money for an attorney, and they don't necessarily even know how to begin to get one. So do they need to apply right now, right away? How does it work? Let's talk about that first, because we want to make sure that people get help.
Absolutely. So there are free legal services as well, right? Some states have free legal services for renters. In New York, there is universal access to justice. But at least in New York, tenants can go on a website, landlords as well, and apply on behalf of their tenants for the rental assistance. So you really would need to show that you owe the rent, who you are, where you live, and really apply for that assistance. So you don't necessarily need an attorney. At least in New York, there are some community-based organizations that are helping folks fill out the applications.
Okay, so that's good to know. So first of all, if you can get a lawyer, you should get a lawyer. And if you can't afford one, there's services. Hopefully in different states, there's places you can go online and get that. So to apply to get that, though, how long does it take to get the money? Because if your rent is due on August 1st, and it's already, today's the 29th, how are you going to get this money between now and the time you got to pay the rent?
All right. So at least in New York, right, the minute you apply and you have a completed application, that is some defense to your eviction. So once you apply, I believe, right, that both sides want to really see progress. Once you apply, I don't see you being evicted. Right. I think both sides really want to see progress in this regard. So no, you wouldn't get the money today or tomorrow, but the application is really the first step to stop the eviction. At least in New York, evictions take a while. So once you apply, you actually have some time before the eviction actually takes place, because you do need to get through the legal process before before eviction.
Well, that's good news. At least you can get some relief there. So now if you do go see an attorney, what should you expect? What do you need to prove, or what kind of documents do you need? What do you need to do to be able to say, hey, I'm affected by COVID. I just can't come up with this rent money and I'll have nowhere to live?
Correct. So there are unemployment, really receiving unemployment really, is proof that you meet the guidelines of some of this federal money, right? So if you're going to an attorney, if you've already been sued, usually proving that you weren't served properly as a tenant, proving that you don't owe all of the money that has been sought from you, right? Proving that there are conditions in the premises that lower the amount of the rent that should be sought. The value of the premises has decreased, right? Maybe you're being overcharged in rent. So these are some of the these are some of, or that you've been harassed, right? These are some of the defenses that, at least in New York, the tenants actually have. In terms of applying for the assistance, you would need to prove that you have a lease or some kind of proof that you have to pay rent at this property, proof that you have had an economic hardship. Again, proof that you're receiving unemployment benefits is one of the ways to prove that you have economic hardship. Proof that you live in the actual state. If you, some states like New York provide utility assistance as well as part of the federal money. So proof of a utility bill is something that you need.
Wow, so you have to really gather your whatever resources you have, whatever documents, and take them to a lawyer or try to get that application in. Do you see any relief in sight when it comes to what we're seeing from lawmakers?
Sure, absolutely. I actually think that the moratorium will be extended, but one way or another, whether it's through the states taking action on their own or some limited moratorium. But I do think that both sides of this aisle do want to see progress. Landlords are hurting, tenants are hurting, so folks will come together and get through this.
Well, Altagracia, thank you so much. That is very, very good information for people. We appreciate you joining us here on BNC.